Art immediately ordered, "Liz, get inside, now." Elizabeth ran without a second thought, scrambling into the bedroom to hide under the bed frame. Art hadn't followed yet. He took a moment to peer past the front gate. God, what he saw out there was a nightmare. A procession of stooped, simian-like creatures, their forms indistinct in the gloom, were escorting the horned man toward their house. It was in a terrifying moment like this. Imagine it. You're just relaxing in your room, maybe scrolling through your phone, trying to unwind. Suddenly, you hear the faint, unsettling twang of a banjo, followed by the sound of your bedroom door creaking open on its own. Creak. You look up, and what walks in isn't a person, and it isn't a ghost. It's a horde of crawlers. You know crawlers? The beasts from the holler, man. They're creatures from the old mountain folklore, and these crawlers are coming into your room to drag you away, to make you an offering. You might think, what can some freaky woodland creature do? Make me an offering? Just listen. I'm about to tell you the story of a family that, on one dark night, had to choose between severing their bloodline or watching their members get sacrificed, one by one. This terrifying account was written down by a friend of mine, a guy named Rhett Wilder, and if you want to read the full, detailed, uncensored version, it's in his book, The Fetching of the Crawlers. The Fetching is what they call the Pact. The Crawlers are its enforcers. It's basically a pact with something old and hungry from the mountains, a pact for wealth, and in his book, he doesn't pull any punches. If you have the stomach for this, listen to the end, because I promise you this story is a long, dark road, and I'm gonna pull you right into it. So, yeah, welcome back to Midnight Radio, the segment where I share chilling stories from listeners like you, stories that might as well have happened to me, and may all of you listening tonight be blessed with good health, good fortune, and a clear path ahead. Let's not waste any more time. Alright, horror mode, engaged. So, this is the story of a family, like I said, who barely escaped being used as offerings for a dark pact. A pact maintained by one of the family members on the mother's side. The list of victims was already long, folks. Not just from their family, but even some of their neighbors had vanished, or met strange ends. What's more chilling is that most of them never knew the architect behind all these deaths was one of their own. To this day, the surviving members of the family still ask themselves, how could one of our own do that? Was it just for money, or was there a darker reason? And what will give you goosebumps is that to survive, they had to completely cut ties, an unbreakable family bond, forged over decades, just severed. But that was the only way this family could finally break free from the grip of the Fetching, this twisted mountain pact that one of them had been feeding for years. Okay, so Sarah is our storyteller tonight. Sarah is the second child of Arthur Miller and Elizabeth Mayhew. We'll call them Art and Liz. They were from an old, well-respected family in their Appalachian County. Sarah had an older brother named Ryan Miller. Alright folks, let's rewind 10 years. Sarah's parents were known for being devoutly religious. From a young age, all the children were raised with a strong foundation of faith, and there was a good reason for it. If your faith wavered, you became an easy target for an attack. Not an attack with knives or guns. We're talking about curses, hexes, the kind of dark energy that's even worse when it comes from your own family. See, on Sarah's mother's side of the family, there was this dark history, this story of the fetching of the crawlers. Her mother, Liz, was the youngest of 7 siblings. Sarah's grandmother was named Eleanor Mayhew, and her grandfather was Argus Mayhew. Eleanor and Argus had 7 children. Let me list them for you. Abigail, Nancy, Sam, Chris, Caleb, Iris, and the youngest, Liz. The Mayhew family homestead was enormous. I mean, imagine a house so big that 7 separate families could live under its roof. But behind the peaceful facade of that sprawling home, something was wrong. One family member was acting incredibly secretive, almost unnervingly mysterious, with strange, furtive movements. It all started to unravel when Eleanor, Sarah's grandmother, said something chilling to Liz. "Elizabeth, you have to get out of this house, as soon as you can. I can't live being haunted by death every single day." Liz was confused. She thought maybe her mother's age was catching up to her, that she was becoming senile and talking nonsense. But in the following nights, the old woman began screaming in terror, disturbing the entire household, and every time Eleanor screamed, it was always Liz who went to calm her down. She'd ask, "Mom, what is it? What did you see?" Eleanor told her that the crawlers came every night, not just one, but a whole pack of them. They looked different, she said, but the one that tormented her most looked like a starved beast with a long tail, matted white fur, and sharp, yellow fangs. She said they would crawl onto her bed and stomp on her chest while she slept, even binding her hands with their tails. At first, Liz didn't believe it. My mother must be hallucinating, she thought. Old age, dementia, it made sense. Until one evening, on a Tuesday under a new moon, Liz was walking past her mother's room on her way to the bathroom. Suddenly, she heard a sound, a low, chittering, guttural sound. It was unmistakably the noise of many creatures, like they were feasting on something. The door to Eleanor's room was unlocked. Curious, Liz pushed it open gently. She saw her mother sitting on the edge of the bed, her back to the door. "Mom, you're still awake?" Liz asked. Eleanor just shook her head. But what she did next sent a shiver down Liz's spine. She started scratching her head, frantically, her movements jerky and unnatural, just like a wild animal. Liz asked again, "Mom, are you okay?" Again, Eleanor nodded, and then she did something else animalistic. She started grinding her teeth together, a sharp, unnerving sound. Liz's heart sank. She suspected her mother was possessed. She immediately went to get her husband, Art. Art had some experience dealing with things like this, the old ways of the mountains. Art arrived, exhausted from a long day's work, but he knew he had to help. He stepped into Eleanor's room, and what he saw made his blood run cold. A line of shadowy, simian-like creatures, the crawlers stood, in a neat row by Eleanor's bed. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their stares were filled with malice. Art initially thought Eleanor had just picked up some stray spirit, a malicious entity sent to harm them, which wasn't uncommon for their family. He tried to draw out whatever had entered her body. Using his knowledge of prayers and cleansing rituals, he began the process. The energy pushing back was immense, but slowly, painstakingly, he managed to pull it out. Afterwards, Art called a friend of his for help, a man named Jeremiah Calloway, but everyone just called him Jed. Jed was a local man, wise in the ways of the mountains, who often helped the Miller family with these kinds of supernatural troubles. When Jed arrived, his face was etched with worry. Art got straight to the point. "Jed, who sent this?" "Art, you need to get your mother-in-law out of this house, immediately." "Why? What's going on?" Jed explained that a member of the family was playing a dangerous game. They were using a dark pact to try and seize the family inheritance, and Eleanor was meant to be the first price, the first offering. Art and Liz were stunned. What made it worse was that out of the 7 siblings, none of them seemed to truly care about Eleanor's deteriorating state. Except for Liz, they were all too wrapped up in their own lives. Liz asked Jed, "But why my mother? Why is she the target?" "Besides the inheritance," Jed said, "your family has an old, respected bloodline. For the ritual they're performing, Eleanor's life force is potent enough to serve as the key offering. But at its heart, this is all about greed." Before they could finish their conversation, another family member walked in. It was Caleb, Liz's brother. He shot a venomous look at Jed, his dislike palpable. Jed, sensing the hostility, made to leave. But just as he reached the door, Caleb blocked his path with his arm. "Hold on a minute. What did you just say?" Jed looked Caleb dead in the eye. "Sometimes, a man can be like a scorpion, strikes you from behind when you least expect it." Caleb was taken aback by Jed's words and stepped aside. Art and Liz were just as confused by the cryptic comment. Later that night, the family gathered. Abigail, Nancy, Sam, Chris, Caleb, Iris, and Liz. Art was the one to speak first. His tone was calm but firm. He explained Eleanor's condition, how she would scream as if possessed, and revealed that she was being spiritually attacked from within the family. He looked at them all, his gaze sweeping across the room. "Which one of you is doing this?" Silence. The room was utterly still. Finally, Abigail spoke up. "Why would any of us do something like that to our own mother? She owns the 2 biggest timber mills in the county. If someone was doing some kind of strange ritual, we'd know. It would have to be done in this house." Art took a deep breath. "Usually, yes, a ritual like that is done at home, but this one is different. This pact is fed in 2 places outside the home, one to the north, one to the east, and the eastern one has already been consecrated on Black Ridge Mountain, a place known for these kinds of dark dealings. Hearing this, Caleb slammed his hand on the table. You can't just believe everything that mountain crackpot Jed says. He's just manipulating us to get a bigger payday. This is the 21st century. Why are you bringing a root doctor into our home? Art remained silent while Liz tried to calm the situation. It was no secret that Caleb had always disliked Art, but Art usually just ignored it. The meeting ended with one conclusion. Art and Liz would have to take Eleanor away, because no one else believed she was in danger of being sacrificed. After the tense meeting, Art and Liz went to their room, but through the thin walls they could hear Caleb and Abigail whispering outside. The conversation went something like this. Abby, we can't let this happen. If she leaves, our plan is ruined. Be patient, Caleb. We'll find the right time. Liz's husband is getting in our way, and his friend too. Alright, Abby. I'll do it tonight. Don't let anyone find out. It's the only way to make sure the fetching goes smoothly. Art immediately understood. They were the perpetrators. And if he didn't act fast, Eleanor's life was on the line. Just then, Liz called out to him from behind. Art? Hearing Liz's voice, Caleb and Abigail must have gotten spooked, because they immediately went quiet and dispersed. That night, Art and Liz went to sleep. Liz was pregnant with their first child, Ryan. But the night felt different, heavy. Liz had a slight fever and fell into a terrifying dream. In her dream, she was visited by a tall, dark figure with horns and glowing red eyes. The creature told her it was coming to take the baby from her womb. At the time, she was only 3 months pregnant, but in the dream, her belly felt like it was 9 months full, and it ached with a deep, searing pain. The figure in the dream issued a threat. Leave this place, or all your descendants will perish. Liz woke with a jolt, screaming. Art woke up beside her. Liz, what is it? What's wrong? He immediately started reciting prayers, trying to calm her. Suddenly, boom! A massive, concussive sound echoed from the front of the house. Art jumped out of bed and ran towards the front door. Liz tried to follow, but he stopped her, saying it wasn't a normal sound. It was an attack. At the front gate stood the same dark, horned figure from Liz's dream, its eyes burning red. The creature stomped its foot 3 times, and the ground shook like a small earthquake, nearly knocking Art off his feet. The creature laughed, a deep, guttural sound. Art knew this being was sent by someone in the family. He tried to stay calm and address the creature. Who sent you to this house? You have 2 choices. Leave now, or be destroyed here. What is your name? Art demanded. A voice like grinding rocks answered. They call me the Horned Man. And who commands you? The Master of Crawlers. Art grabbed a pitcher of water and blessed it, reciting verses of scripture. Then, he hurled the water towards the gate. As the water hit, it burst into small, blue-red flames, and the creature dissolved into black smoke, its laughter echoing as it vanished. But, at that same moment, a scream ripped from the bedroom. Art rushed back inside to find Liz clutching her stomach. There, on her belly, were fresh scratch marks long, angry red lines crossing from above her navel downwards. While Art was dealing with the Horned Man, the entity had managed to attack Liz. Thankfully, the blessed water had banished it before it could do more harm. From outside their room, Art could hear someone chanting a strange mantra right in the hallway. He realized then that the Horned Man had lied. It wasn't a direct servant of the Master of Crawlers. It had been summoned by a family member who wanted to harm Liz and drive them from the house, clearing the way for the fetching ritual to proceed. From that night on, Liz's pregnancy felt unnatural. Her stomach would feel immense pressure, as if being stepped on or clawed, especially near midnight. Art was constantly on edge. If the Horned Man had truly marked Liz's womb, their unborn child was in grave danger. He immediately took Liz to see Jed Calloway. There, Jed asked to see the scratch marks on Liz's stomach. He needed to understand the Horned Man's intent, why it was relentlessly pursuing them. Your wife has been marked, Jed said grimly. They want to take the baby in her womb to open the ritual of the fetching. The first stage of a pact like this requires an inaugural offering. Usually, the entity demands the heads of 3 newborn infants, but some petitioners ask for a lesser price. A single unborn fetus is considered equal to 3 infant lives. It's a trade. He paused, his eyes dark with concern. But there's more. Your wife's bloodline. It carries a certain potency, a scent. It's not just the Horned Man who will be drawn to it. Many other dark things will be stirred. So what do we do, Jed? Art asked. Burn sage and saltpeter. I call it a smudge fire. Jed went to the back of his small cabin and returned with a bundle of dried sage in a small pouch. He put them in a small clay pot and lit it. The smoke from this will mask the scent of your wife's bloodline. Burn it at the front of your house and leave a couple of embers smoking at the corners of the property. It will create a barrier that should keep the Horned Man and other entities away from your pregnant wife. Art understood. Jed gave him a large bag of the dried herbs to last them. Then, they went home. When they arrived, the entire extended family was gathered in the living room. Art knew they were plotting something. He and Liz tried to go straight to their room, but Caleb called out, Well, back from the witch doctor again?" Art ignored him, though his blood was boiling. Jed wasn't a witch doctor. He was just a man with deep, ancestral knowledge. Caleb taunted again. "Get any nice hexes from him." Liz couldn't hold back. "Caleb, we weren't at a witch doctor's. Your husband is causing chaos in this family, spreading rumors about dark pacts. Look at Mother, she's perfectly fine." Fright. Art glanced at Eleanor. She did look healthy, but something was off. Her hair, it was jet black. When did that happen? She had been completely gray. "Caleb," Liz said, trying to mediate. "We just went to see Jed. We didn't mean any harm." "Liz, let's just go to our room," Art said, pulling her away. "So, you were disturbed by something last night?" Caleb's voice was dripping with false concern. Art snapped. He realized their goal was to harm his wife's pregnancy all along. "Caleb, you did this. You sent that thing to kill your own sister." The room fell silent. Everyone froze, but Caleb just smiled, a cold, sinister smirk. Just then, Eleanor got up and went to her room without a word. Nancy, another sister, guided Liz towards her room. Liz was surprised. Nancy was usually distant. Now she was being so attentive. "Go on, you two, get inside. You're upsetting Mother." Once in their room, Art was still seething. He wanted to smash the pot of herbs in his frustration with Caleb, but Liz calmed him down. "Art, please, calm down. Don't let your anger win. Your brother," he sent the Horned Man. "He almost got us killed. Our own family." "I know, Liz, but we have to be patient now. I don't want anything to happen to our baby." Art slowly calmed down. He knelt, placing his hand on his wife's stomach, whispering prayers as if talking to his unborn child, telling it to be strong. Later that night, Art secretly went to burn the sage bundles at 2 points, the front and back of the house. At the front, he ran into Rose, Caleb's wife. She was dressed in a sheer, revealing nightgown, her intentions obvious. She purred. "Art, what are you doing out here so late?" Art ignored her, closing his eyes and reciting a silent prayer to ward off her temptation. Once the sage was burning, he walked away without a word, but when he got to the back porch, he froze. Rose was there, too. But this wasn't possible. The Rose on the back porch was wearing a modest robe and making coffee. "Art?" she asked. "Weren't you just at the front? How did you get back here so fast?" "I've been in the kitchen this whole time, Art, making coffee for Caleb. Who did you see out front?" Art peered back towards the front yard. Standing there was not Rose, but a spectral woman in white, a banshee. Her face was a ruin of decay, and she was waving at him slowly. "Art, God have mercy," Art whispered, turning away. But it wasn't over. A loud, cackling laugh erupted from Eleanor's room. Art crept towards the door. Before he opened it, he heard another woman's voice from inside, one he didn't recognize. It was deep and gravelly. "Soon it will be the new moon. The master of crawlers will demand his offering. If this one is the offering, you will be rich beyond your wildest dreams in a matter of days." Art pushed the door open. It wasn't locked. Inside, Nancy was sitting next to Eleanor, stroking her hair. When she saw Art, she jumped. "Nancy? Art? What are you doing? You didn't even knock. That's so rude." Sorry, Nancy, I didn't realize." Art quickly closed the door and left. He continued to the back of the house to light the second sage bundle. As he did, the flame suddenly went out, as if blown by a strong gust of wind. "That's strange," he thought. He relit it. Foosh, it went out again. He felt a chill crawl up his spine. Then he heard a woman laughing. But this wasn't the banshee from before. This laugh was more familiar. Art turned around. It was Nancy, combing her hair with Liz's brush. Slowly, she began to scratch her chin. Then her head, her movements, identical to a monkey's. "Nancy?" Art asked. "Nancy, what's wrong?" She didn't answer. Instead, she bolted to the front of the house, leaping and screeching like an animal. Art chased after her. In the front yard, Nancy suddenly transformed. She was beautiful, poised, holding a white shawl, moving like a dancer. But her eyes were sharp, and her smile was a terrifying baring of teeth. From the roof of the house, the chittering of the crawlers echoed. A horde of them swarmed down, surrounding Nancy. Their tails were long, and some had vicious-looking fangs. Nancy stood among them like a queen. Art screamed her name. "Nancy, snap out of it!" The commotion brought the rest of the family out. Sam, Caleb, Abigail, Iris, and Chris. They saw the bizarre dance. Chris shouted, "Art, what's happening to Nancy?" "I don't know, Chris. She's been acting like a wild animal." Abigail and Caleb stepped forward. "Get out! Leave her!" Abigail yelled. Caleb followed. "It's over! Go home!" Strangely, as soon as they shouted, Nancy collapsed, unconscious. Sam and Iris carried her back inside. Art was suspicious. How did Caleb and Abigail know what to do? "Caleb, what was that? What happened to Nancy?" "Stay out of this, Art. She was making an offering to our ancestors." "An offering to your ancestors? If you don't want to see strange things in this family, you should leave. If you don't, you'll be next." Caleb and Abigail walked away, leaving Art speechless. He felt threatened. And where did Nancy get that white shawl? He was sure she wasn't carrying anything in the kitchen. He began to wonder, was this the inaugural offering for the fetching ritual that Jed had warned him about? And who was the true perpetrator? Caleb? Abigail? Or was it Nancy herself? After the incident with Nancy, Art grew even more suspicious, especially of Caleb's words. If Art's presence was truly a threat to their plans, he and Liz were in serious danger. The next morning, Art and Liz planned to visit Jed again to discuss their next move. But before leaving, they saw something unsettling in the backyard. Abigail and Sam were bathing Eleanor, but it wasn't a normal bath. It looked like a ritual cleansing for a bride-to-be. She was wrapped in a ceremonial cloth, her hair styled in an intricate bun. The water wasn't plain water. It was infused with 7 different types of flowers and smelled intensely fragrant. Liz grew anxious and called out, "Sam, Abby, what are you doing to Mom?" "A cleansing ritual," Abby replied curtly. "A cleansing? But she seems fine." Here, Art was confused again. The previous night, he had seen Eleanor's hair as jet black. Now, it was completely white again, her natural color. "Abby, Sam, last night I saw Mother's hair was black. Why is it white again?" Abby looked at him, feigning confusion. "Art, Mother's hair has been white for years. What are you talking about?" Sam added, "Let's finish this later. Liz, Art, come to the front for a moment. Our family upholds old traditions. An elder, like Mother, must be cleansed of worldly taints before her time comes. Signs like her hair turning black are an omen that she is preparing to pass on. We must perform the ritual now." "If that's the case," Art pressed, "then why was Nancy acting like she was possessed last night, moving like a monkey? Is that related to this?" Abby's eyes narrowed. "The child you carry will know the answer." "What do you mean, Abby?" "There are secrets passed down through generations. It is not yet time for you to know. Now, when are you going to see that man again? Hurry up. I'll be waiting for his solution." A cold smile played on her lips. "But if he tries to interfere with my family and my plans, you both will suffer the consequences, for the next 15 years. Art and Liz felt a deep chill. In their family, Abigail's words were known as a cursing tongue. What she spoke often came to pass. It was an old folk belief that some people were born with a bitter tongue, and their words carried the weight of a curse. Finally, Art and Liz left for Jed's cabin. They found him in his backyard, planting ginger. "Jed," Art called out. "Afternoon, Art, Liz." "What are you up to, Jed?" "Planting ginger." "You two feel like you're being watched out here?" "Yeah, Jed. It feels like someone is spying on us." They came to my home. Let's go inside. Signai, they followed him into his small living room. Jed had them sit. Then he began to explain. Last night, the Horned Man came to me, along with his crawlers. They're minions of the master of the crawlers. There's one in your family who is to be taken by this master, to be made a bride in his realm. How is that possible, Jed? The child you carry will be the key to the game your family is playing. What happened last night was the opening of the ritual I told you about. The ginger I planted in the east is to keep them from getting close. Their hearing is sharp. If a word gets out, they'll send a signal back to the one in your family. You mean Abigail? I can't say a name, but soon, the first true offering will be taken. What they're showing you openly is just a distraction, an illusion to hide their real plan. The cleansing ritual. You mean that's the final stage? The final stage of what? The ritual sacrifice. The victim is bathed, wrapped in a special cloth. The white hair turning black is a sign that the person has been chosen as an offering. Art, we have to go back. We have to save Mom, Liz cried. Liz, calm down. Let's hear him out. What if we're too late, Art? Jed's voice was somber. You already are. Tonight is the new moon, the night the offering is presented to its master. Liz burst into tears. Art asked what they could possibly do now. Jed took a deep breath. His answer was simple. Leave that house. Save yourselves. Art nodded grimly. Jed then gave him a small pouch of coffee grounds mixed with rock salt. He gave specific instructions. Sprinkle this around the bed frame. Hide underneath the bed. Do not come out until sunrise. If you hear the sound of a banjo tonight, do not open your door. If you hear the chittering of the crawlers inside the house, lock everything tight. They will be looking for their next victim. Protect your wife and child. If you must, break the bloodline. It is better than becoming victims yourselves. It was all starting to make a horrifying kind of sense. After Jed's counsel, Art and Liz left. Liz cried the whole way back, unwilling to accept that her mother was going to be a sacrifice. But the plan was already in motion. When they arrived home, the house was eerily quiet. They rushed to Eleanor's room and found her sleeping. Liz sat by her mother's bed, massaging her feet and weeping silently. Eleanor stirred. My sweet girl, why are you crying? Mom, are you okay? Leave this house. I want you to be safe. Fear God, my child, not this. You are a good daughter. Art, you take care of my child. I will, Eleanor. I will protect Liz. You've seen Jed? Yes, ma'am. Then do as he says. It's the only way you'll survive. Suddenly, the door flew open. Abby, let go of me! Several family members barged in, carrying ritual offerings. Art and Liz were dragged out of the room, and the door was slammed shut. Before it closed, Abigail looked back at them, a wide, cold smile on her face, her eyes like ice. So, she sneered, did your friend Jed have any solutions? Slam. Art immediately pulled Liz to their own room, locked the door, and sprinkled the coffee and salt mixture around their bed, just as Jed had instructed. Liz was frantic. Art, why are you just standing there? We have to save my mother. 7. Art's eyes filled with tears. We wait until dawn, he said, his voice cracking. It's the only way. I can't live without my mother, Art. Patience, Liz. Tonight we hide under the bed. Tomorrow we leave this place for good. That night, they sealed the windows and hid under the bed, waiting for sunrise. It wasn't long before they heard it. The slow, haunting twang of a banjo, accompanied by a woman's mournful singing, and the screeching of countless crawlers. Art gripped Liz's hand tightly, trying to keep her calm. Art, I'm scared. Patience. The ceremony isn't over. A moment later, their bedroom door creaked open on its own. Art quickly clamped his hand over Liz's mouth to stifle a scream. From under the bed, they saw 2 pairs of feet. One pair was covered in thick, white fur, the feet of the master of the crawlers. The other was human, adorned with bridal ornaments. The new bride. They circled the bed, as if searching for something. Finding nothing, they left. Then, a deep, booming voice, not human, echoed through the house. Who will be my next guardian? Let me explain. A guardian was a male sacrifice. A female was made a bride. A male was made a guardian. It was clear they were now looking for a male offering from this respected family. The only question was, who would they take? The next morning, the house was in an uproar. People were shouting Eleanor's name. Art and Liz knew their worst fears had come true. In the living room, Eleanor's body lay on a sofa, covered by a white sheet. The faces of the family members were masks of grief, but Art saw through it. It was a performance, a facade to make Eleanor's death look like it was from natural causes. Art approached his mother-in-law's body and gently touched the nape of her neck. Suddenly, Caleb grabbed him, choking him. "What do you think you're doing to her?" "I'm just checking," Art gasped. "If she died of an illness, why does the back of her neck feel so strange?" Caleb released him. Art had Liz check as well. The nape of Eleanor's neck was hollow, as if the bone had been scooped out. On her back were 3 massive gashes, and on her wrists, deep bruises, like she had been bound. It was clear Eleanor had not died of old age. She had been tied down, naked, and brutalized. Liz collapsed in tears, not just for her mother's death, but for the betrayal of her own siblings. Art whispered to her, "Liz, we're leaving today." Just then, a group of stern-looking people arrived. They embraced Caleb and Abigail, who put on a show of weeping dramatically. "We know the truth, folks. It was all an act." Art led Liz back to their room to wait for Eleanor's body to be taken for burial. Once inside, the air in the room grew thick and hot. Art was curious about the new arrivals. "Liz, who are those people?" "The Blackwood clan, from the west. They're a branch of the family that claims a right to lead, but they were cast out long ago. People call them the Tainted Bloodline, traitors from a past generation." Suddenly, there was a knock. "Art, can you come out for a minute? The Blackwoods want to meet you." "Art, are you sure you want to meet them?" Liz whispered. "I'll just be a minute, Liz." In the living room, 5 members of the Blackwood clan sat in chairs, looking down on everyone else. The entire Mayhew family, the homeowners, were sitting on the floor, their heads bowed. The Blackwoods radiated an aura of oppressive authority. As Art entered, he felt it too. A voice whispered in his ear, "Bow." His body involuntarily bent forward, his head forced down as if by an invisible hand. He couldn't lift it. He knelt on the floor with the others. One of the men on the chairs, likely in his 42nds, looked at Art. "Arthur Miller, your bloodline is from the east, is it not?" "Yes, sir." "And doves, we will be taking Eleanor's body. Her death with the 3 marks is a disgrace. She will be buried on consecrated ground, befitting a family of standing." No one dared to object. The decision was final. Then, everyone was dismissed back to their rooms, except for Abigail and Caleb. As Art walked away, he heard a loud smack, the sound of a hard slap, followed by a string of vicious curses. The Blackwoods were beating Caleb and Abigail. Liz held Art back. "Art, don't. It's too dangerous." "Ezer." Art's mind raced with 2 possibilities. First, the Blackwoods were the true puppet masters, using the Mayhews as pawns. Or second, Abigail and Caleb were in league with Silas Blackwood, the leader, and this beating was just theater to cement their reign of terror. Either way, Art and Liz's lives were hanging by a thread, and one question remained unanswered. If Eleanor had died, who was the bride he saw walking beside the master of the crawlers? Art asked his wife, "Liz, in your family, who is the quietest, the most passive one?" "I guess that would be Nancy." The puzzle pieces started clicking into place. Nancy stroking Eleanor's hair, her sharp eyes, her bared teeth smile, the strange dance with the white shawl. Just then, a knock at the door. It was Abigail. "Art, Mr. Blackwood is asking for you." "And Zasting." Art went out again, the oppressive aura still weighing him down. He couldn't even stand straight. He had to crawl on his hands and knees to approach Silas Blackwood. "Stop," Blackwood commanded. Art froze. "Your wife is pregnant," Blackwood stated. "If the first child is a girl, she must be cleansed, offered as a sacrifice to atone for the family's misfortunes. That is the decree." Rage boiled inside Art, but his mouth felt sealed shut. With great effort, he managed to bargain. "Give me 3 days, sir. I will give you my answer." 3 days, Blackwood repeated. "If you betray me, I will not hesitate to make you both suffer." Behind him, Art sensed the presence of enforcers from the Blackwood clan, men known for their brutality, who would punish anyone who defied the decree. Just then, Nancy emerged from her room, holding the white shawl. Seeing her, Blackwood smiled, a cold, predatory expression. "Ah, my sweet girl, you smell so fragrant. Soon, I will make you a queen." The word queen here was not a title for a human. It was a term for the mate of the master of the crawlers. But if Nancy wasn't the queen the previous night, then who was walking beside the beast? Or perhaps the ritual was layered. A backup queen? A sacrificial queen? A herald queen? Whatever the case, the clock was ticking. 3 days. At the end of it, something had to be sacrificed. Or they would be. After Eleanor's burial in the exclusive family cemetery, Art was still haunted by the Blackwood clan's words. Their methods of imposing tradition and forcing decrees on the family were terrifying, and the word that echoed in his mind was Queen, the title Silas Blackwood had used for Nancy. There was a dark, hidden connection between the Blackwoods and the Mayhews that he didn't understand. If only Eleanor were still alive, she could have explained. Amidst the chaos, there was one person who seemed to want no part in any of it. Chris, one of Liz's brothers. He always seemed to be holding something back. After the funeral, he quietly packed his bags, telling only Art that he was heading west, near the city. He did it all in secret. That afternoon, Art saw Chris sneaking down the hallway with his bags, trying to avoid the rest of the family. Art let him go, then followed him once he was outside the gate. "Chris, where are you going?" "West, near the city." "What for?" "Personal business." Chris then pulled Art into a more secluded spot and handed him a folded piece of paper. It was a family tree, a detailed genealogy. On it, the Blackwood name had been crossed out from the main line of power long ago. There was a note. "The Blackwoods violated the old covenants. They are not to be trusted." "They're not a good family, Art," Chris whispered. "I'm leaving to escape their decree. Don't tell anyone where I went." Art agreed. He realized Chris was also likely escaping the hunt for a male offering now that Eleanor was gone. With Chris's departure, one life was safe, for now. That night, the house was in an uproar. Everyone was looking for Chris. They questioned Art, but he played dumb, protecting Liz from being dragged deeper into the Blackwoods' twisted plans. The tension in the living room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Art saw two possibilities for their panic. One, Chris was indeed the next intended sacrifice, the next guardian for the master of the crawlers. His disappearance threw their plans into chaos. Two, Chris had taken the original family records, which, if revealed, could expose the Blackwoods' illegitimate claim to power. Damn it! How did Chris get away? Find him! Suddenly, a loud knock echoed from the front door. At the same time, the stench of decay filled the air. Everyone held their breath. Caleb opened the door and was immediately struck, sent sprawling to the floor. Standing in the doorway was Silas Blackwood. "Forgive me, sir," Caleb stammered from the ground. "I don't know how he left. We were all resting." "Would you like to be the next offering, Caleb?" "No, sire. You know what the Master of Crawlers requires." "A gardien, sire. The bride is ready. How will you find me a guardian?" Caleb just whimpered in pain, too afraid to answer. Art held Liz's hand tightly, whispering, "Stay quiet. Don't say a word. Keep your head down." Silas Blackwood began to walk around the room, staring at each family member, one by one. He stepped on Caleb's hand as he passed. He called out to Abigail. "Abby, do you know where he ran?" "No, sire." "Sam, your task." He went down the line, slapping anyone who couldn't answer. Finally, he stopped in front of Art. He stared down at Art's bowed head. "Do you know where Chris went? I know you're hiding something. I've heard it all. This Tuesday, you will find me the next offering." "Yes, sir," Art mumbled. That night, the picture became terrifyingly clear. With Eleanor gone, the Blackwoods were in complete control, dictating the rituals and the schedule of sacrifices. Chris may have been the original target, but his escape forced them to find a replacement, another male from the family, to become the guardian of the Master of the Crawlers. The question was, who? Sam, Art, or Caleb himself? The Blackwood clan was not just feared. They were connected. They had influence, a network that kept other old families in line. One afternoon, Silas Blackwood returned and ordered Caleb and Abigail to prepare a lavish feast. A local official was coming to visit, someone who apparently had ties to their powerful bloodline. The town whispered about these officials, calling them the slippery ones, corrupt, untouchable by the law. Hearing this, Art and Liz exchanged a worried glance. If this official was also involved in the fetching, their situation was even more dire. There was no more time to waste. They had to break the bloodline, as Jed had said, a ritual act of severing all family ties, disappearing completely. That morning, they went to Jed's cabin for answers. Art asked him directly, "Jed, this official who's visiting, is he connected to the Mayhew family?" "He is," Jed confirmed, "and not just by blood. They belong to a group people around here called the Eels. Slippery, hated by the common folk. An eel is a politician who's a master of evasion, all promises, no action. When you ask for proof, they slither away. It's like the devil himself is pairing, with the cunning with the cunning, the evil with the evil." "When should we leave, Jed?" "Wait, first you must save the Crawler's bride." "The bride? But she's one of them. The one you think is the perpetrator is actually a victim. This family's pact is tiered. There's the patron, the bride, and the guardian. And last, the most terrifying part, finding offerings from among their own acquaintances. Even if you break the bloodline, that only erases your social footprint, not your spiritual one. As long as this game is being played, the terror will find you." This official," Art continued, "is he controlling the pact?" "Not directly. He and his kind are immune to the law. They have their own spiritual protectors to maintain their power. Your focus must remain on the bride. When the time comes to act, after the guardian is chosen, the original target escaped, so that leaves two possibilities. The offering will be taken from the Mayhew family or from the Blackwoods themselves. Both are connected." "Yes, the thread was clear. The next male sacrifice would be the guardian. Whoever was chosen on Tuesday night would reveal their next move." On their way back, they saw Nancy sitting alone on the living room sofa, clutching Liz's old hairbrush. Her gaze was distant, sad, as it often was since Eleanor's death. Liz approached her gently. "Nancy, are you by yourself?" Nancy stood up, her head bowed, and handed the brush to Art. Her eyes welled with tears. "Please," she whispered to him, "save me. I want to get out of this house." Liz embraced her sister. Art remembered Jed's words. "The one you think is the perpetrator is actually a victim. The pieces fit. The white shawl, the sharp eyes, the strange dance." It all pointed to Nancy. Just then, Silas Blackwood was standing in the doorway, followed by several other family members. Art instinctively pulled Liz back. Caleb stepped forward. "What's all this?" Art tried to de-escalate. "Nancy is just missing Mother, that's all." "From one." Caleb started to approach, but Silas stopped him with a raised hand. "We have an important guest arriving shortly, a county official. Prepare everything." The family scurried to set the table with the finest china and silverware, as if preparing for royalty. As they worked, Silas turned to Art. "Who did you just meet with?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. "An old friend. Does he have any connection to Eleanor?" "No. Remember, Art, I am the elder of the Blackwood clan, the family that holds the seat of power in these mountains." Just then, 3 men in expensive suits walked in. These were the Eels, the corrupt officials. Art and Liz retreated to their room, but they could still hear the conversation from the living room. Silas Blackwood was boasting about owning the timber mills and how his plan was succeeding. He intended to sacrifice the mill workers to fuel his pact. One of the officials laughed. "Excellent. I am above the law. I will protect your mills." "Thank you, sir. My fee is 20% of the mill's profits." "Of course. Don't you worry about that." They toasted, their laughter echoing through the house. Then, one of the officials asked a question that made Art's blood run cold. "So, who is the guardian?" "Serapto, my own uncle." Art had never heard the name. He asked Liz, who whispered, "He's Silas Blackwood's uncle, from the old family branch." Art drew a chilling conclusion. Silas was sacrificing his own uncle. After that, he would partner with the official to find more victims, and the next victims could very well be them. Liz was terrified, clinging to her husband. "Art, when are we leaving?" "Patience, Liz. We have to save the bride first. I'm sure it's Nancy. We'll follow Chris's lead." Outside, the officials and Silas continued to laugh and feast, celebrating their wicked plan, while inside, Art and Liz plotted their escape. Silas's uncle, Serapto Blackwood, had always been against involving politics in the family's affairs. He refused to let the family's traditions be manipulated by corrupt officials. From the conversation, Art understood that Silas's plan was to eliminate the one person in his own family who stood against him, while also fulfilling the pact's requirement for a guardian. But something still bothered Art. Why was the next sacrifice from the Blackwood clan? There were still men in the Mayhew family they could take, like Sam or Caleb. It was a brilliant, wicked strategy. By sacrificing his own uncle, Silas would divert suspicion from the Mayhews and simultaneously eliminate his only internal opposition. And there was another theory. Perhaps the pact required two initial offerings, a bride and a guardian, from the two intertwined families to unlock the ability to take countless more victims later. In their room, Art laid out his fears to Liz. Liz, where does Serapto live? At the old retreat, Pine Ridge. It's not far from here. This is bad, Liz. If he's sacrificed, it will affect all of us. Liz understood. When Art connected the dots, a horrifying pattern emerged. Eleanor was used as a false bride to consecrate the true bride, Nancy. Then, by sacrificing a guardian from his own family, Silas was deceiving the other old families. Deceiving them for what, Art? So that he can make us all the next offerings. The words hung in the air. Liz remembered her mother's warning about a family member who would stop at nothing. She was talking about the Blackwoods. Art proposed a three-step plan to be executed immediately. 1. Save Serapto. 2. Get Nancy, the intended bride, out of the house. 3. Run and perform the ritual to break the bloodline. As they were strategizing, there was a knock. It was Abigail. One of the officials wanted to see Art. He had no choice. In the living room, Art bowed his head, preparing to kneel on the floor, but one of the officials stopped him. No, sit on the sofa. Art hesitated, but the official, whose name tag read Linga, grabbed his arm and pulled him up. The moment Linga touched him, Art was hit with a vision. He saw a young woman tied up by the long tail of the master of the crawlers. In the vision, Art was whispering to her, "Stay calm, don't be afraid." The woman then slammed herself against a wall, breaking the bonds, and ran towards a room. The beast pursued her, but was blocked by a spectral figure in an old-fashioned uniform, the woman's ancestral guardian. The vision left Art breathless. Silas, noticing his distress, asked, "What's wrong, Art?" "Nothing," Art managed to say. The officials made small talk with him, and then they left. As they departed, Silas approached Art. "You know our secret now, don't you?" he asked, his voice a low threat. He didn't wait for an answer. About 15 minutes later, another knock. It was Jed. He stood in the doorway, his eyes fixed on the hand Linga had touched. "You know what that vision meant, don't you?" "What do you mean, Jed?" "That was the future. 15 years from now, it will happen to your second child, a daughter." Art realized the vision wasn't a hallucination. It was a warning. "I came to stop Silas's plan," Jed said. "Serapto is a friend of mine. He understands the dark path this pact has taken, but you must protect your children. One of them will be the obstacle that stands in the way of the Blackwoods and their political allies. That's why the future you saw is certain to come." After delivering his message, Jed left. Art followed him onto the porch, but Jed just turned back. "This will be the end of my life, Art. I'm sorry I can't get you all out, but by disrupting Silas's plan, I can at least buy you time to escape." Jed's final words were a powerful omen. Serapto was the key. He could be the offering that unlocked more bloodshed, or he could be the witness that destroyed Silas's plans. Or perhaps Jed saw another way. By breaking the chain of the two initial offerings, the entire ritual would collapse. Art's three-step plan had to work. Save Serapto, secure the bride, break the bloodline. The next day, Art waited for a sign. The Tuesday of the ritual was fast approaching. That morning, Nancy, Abigail, and Caleb followed Silas to a secret location. Art suspected they were preparing the ritual site for Serapto, but Serapto had already made his move. He had sensed Silas's intentions and had asked his trusted friend, Jed, for help. At the old retreat, Jed had told Serapto to take refuge in a place called the Sinking Creek, an old ancestral sanctuary. Legend had it that anyone who entered with evil intent would be swallowed by the land itself. Serapto had left for the sanctuary in secret. Meanwhile, Silas, Abigail, Nancy, and Caleb arrived at Serapto's now empty house. All they found was Jed, sitting calmly on the porch. Silas was furious. "Where is Serapto?" "You're looking for a guardian for the master of the crawlers, aren't you?" Jed said calmly. "You're hiding him. I hate this game, but I'm just a common man. This shouldn't be my business, but Eleanor made a request. I'm honoring it. Hide all the guardians," she said, "so your wicked pact will be shattered." The words hit their mark. Abigail and Caleb were speechless. Silas's face was red with rage. Jed continued, "Eleanor knew about this game for a long time. She willingly became an offering to consecrate the true bride, but she would not allow the men of this family to be sacrificed as guardians. If the guardian isn't provided, what happens then? The master will choose one at random, any of the men in the Mayhew family. As long as you don't find a guardian, any one of you could be taken." Caleb went pale. He was a man. He could be taken. It was Caleb, you see, who had sold out the family to the Blackwoods, dragging Abigail and his other siblings into it, all for the promise of wealth for 7 generations. 2 offerings were needed to unlock the door, the bride and the guardian. After that, the sacrifices would flow freely. Jed stared at Caleb. "Your mother despises you. She will not let you grow rich on her suffering. 2 guardians have already slipped through your grasp." "What do you mean?" "Chris, I'm the one who told him to run on the day of the funeral, and Serapto, I sent him to the sinking creek." Caleb cursed Jed. Silas lunged forward and grabbed Jed by the throat. "Tell me where they are." Jed, struggling to breathe, rasped, "Let go." 61. Silas released him. "Answer me, now." Jed straightened his shirt. "The city and the sinking creek." Silas knew he was beaten. The city was too large to find one man, and the sinking creek was a protected, sacred land. Evil could not enter. "You will never find Chris," Jed said, "and you will never reach Serapto. Your wicked intentions have no power in the sinking creek." "Haven't?" As he finished speaking, a swarm of bats erupted from a tree behind them, engulfing Silas, Caleb, and Abigail in a chaotic cloud. In the confusion, Jed vanished. Silas screamed in fury. 15 years from now, Warris, you will die a miserable death." It was a terrible day for Silas and his followers. Their plan was in ruins. The guardian was gone. If they couldn't find one in time, the master of the crawlers would choose at random. Back at the Mayhew house, Art watched and waited. If they failed to find a guardian, who would be chosen? Sam? Caleb? And would the ritual be forced to proceed, making Art's fear of them all becoming offerings a reality? Silas Blackwood returned to the Mayhew house in a rage, berating the family for the loss of 2 potential guardians. The ritual to present the guardian was that night. If they failed, the pact could be nullified, and they would have to start over, including finding a new bride. Or, the ritual could proceed, with the master of the crawlers taking whoever it pleased. Caleb stepped forward, trying to sound strategic. "What if we use Art as the guardian?" From his perspective, Art was an outsider, easily disposable, but Silas shook his head. Everyone was surprised. "Why not, Art?" Silas leaned in and whispered something in Caleb's ear. Whatever he said, it made Caleb's face drain of all color. He looked terrified. After the meeting, it was decided that the ritual would be held at Silas's home, since the guardian would be provided by the Blackwood clan, as per their agreement. A bride from the Mayhews, a guardian from the Blackwoods. The others seemed relieved, but Caleb still looked shaken. That evening, Liz was restless. She wanted to step outside for some fresh air. It was a full moon. Art reminded her it was the night of the ritual, but Liz said she had overheard the others saying the ritual was moved to Silas's house. Art was skeptical. He knew Silas was treacherous. It could be a trick. Finally, he relented, and they stepped out onto the porch. The night was clear, the full moon bright. For a moment, they felt at peace. They talked about the future, about naming their son Ryan if it was a boy, or Audrey if it was a girl. But as they were talking, the dreaded sound returned, the faint twang of a banjo in the distance. Art immediately ordered, "Liz, get inside, now!" Elizabeth ran without a second thought, scrambling into the bedroom to hide under the bed frame. Art hadn't followed yet. He took a moment to peer past the front gate. God, what he saw out there was a nightmare. A procession of stooped, simian-like creatures, the crawlers, were escorting the horned man toward their house. In that terrifying moment, A voice whispered in Art's ear, "Recite the Lord's name 3 times, then strike your thigh." Without hesitating, Art did as he was told. He whispered the name, then slapped his thigh. Miraculously, the paralysis that had gripped him vanished. His legs felt light. He bolted inside, locking the door, then locking their bedroom. Liz peered out from under the bed. "Art, they're here," he whispered. "The crawlers?" "Yes. I think the ritual is happening here tonight." Sequence. "You mean Silas is coming here?" "It seems so." A moment later, the front door, which he had locked, clicked open. The sound of the banjo, the mournful singing, and the chittering of the crawlers filled the house. Art dove under the bed with Liz. Just as before, their bedroom door opened. They saw the 2 pairs of feet circle the bed, search, and then move on to another room. The ritual was short. Just like last time, by dawn, they would know who had been taken. If it succeeded, the pact would be fulfilled, and the house would become a hunting ground, making escape nearly impossible. If it failed, the hunt for a guardian would begin anew, more brutal than before. Under the bed, they struggled to breathe quietly. Finally, the morning call to prayer from a distant church signaled the dawn. One by one, the family members emerged from their rooms, their faces pale, especially Caleb and Abigail. They all gathered, except for one person. "Where's Sam?" Just then, the door to Sam's room opened. It was quiet for a moment. Then, bam! The door was thrown open, and a man stumbled out, his body covered in scratches and bruises, his skin taking on a dark, unhealthy hue. Liz screamed, "Sam, we have to get him to a doctor." Caleb blocked the way. "No, if we take him to a hospital, people will ask questions." Iris, Sam's wife, slapped Caleb across the face. "This is your fault. This wasn't fate." The situation exploded. Caleb grabbed Iris by the throat and had to be pulled off by Abigail. Meanwhile, Sam was helped back to his bed. Art approached him. Sam looked at him, his eyes pleading, and managed to speak, his voice a hoarse whisper. "Run, from here, Blackwood, he's the one." It was clear. Silas was the one who had come last night. Art looked at Caleb. "You knew about this, didn't you?" Caleb's face was a mask of cold fury. Finally, he spoke, revealing the next stage of the plan. "The next step is to eliminate the entire Mayhew family. Then, take over the timber mills and use the employees as offerings." As he said this, Sam, lying on the bed, began to convulse violently. Then, he went limp. He was gone. Everyone started weeping. Art checked his pulse and gently closed his eyes. "He's gone." Iris, his wife, ran from the room, screaming hysterically. Art walked over to Caleb and put a hand on his shoulder. "Congratulations, Caleb. The path you've chosen has opened the gates to Silas Blackwood's plan of death. We are all just pawns on his chessboard now." Sam was buried secretly, without the Blackwoods knowing. After the funeral, only Art, Liz, Caleb, and Abigail remained at the gravesite. Caleb asked Art, "What's your next move, Art?" "Life is like being at sea, Caleb. Sometimes you face a storm, sometimes you face pirates. If you're not prepared for both, why set sail at all? If I wanted to atone for my sins, what would I have to do?" "Decide what your life is worth," Art replied. He then led Liz home as the rain began to fall harder, leaving Caleb and Abigail standing over Sam's grave, their faces finally showing a flicker of regret. When they got home, a familiar figure was waiting for them, Jed Calloway. He got straight to the point. "I heard Silas succeeded in completing his ritual." "We're trapped, Jed. The family has lost all hope." "Not all of them. Caleb is manipulating you. He's pretending to be broken to crush everyone else's morale. In a pact like this, the one who endures profits. The rest are sacrificed." "Who is the crawler's bride, Jed?" "It's not Nancy. It's Caleb's wife, Rose." Art and Liz were stunned. Rose. The puzzle clicked. The seductive apparition, the sudden appearance in the kitchen. Rose and Caleb had been working with Silas all along. Liz whispered, "So, should we break the bloodline now? Just cut all ties?" "Breaking the bloodline severs your social ties, not the spiritual mark," Jed explained. "But it's the minimum requirement to survive. My advice, get the true victim, the false bride, out of the house. erase any trace of the Guardian, and then vanish. If the chain of bride and guardian is broken, the required offerings will be in chaos. Suddenly, Jed paused, as if receiving a vision. Then, he laid out their options. 1. Run, like Chris did. The chances of being caught were small, but Silas would be enraged and hunt them relentlessly. 2. Fight back, but do it in secret. Jed, help us, tonight, Art pleaded. We'll settle this before the next full moon. They had little time. They had to perform the ritual to break the bloodline, rescue Nancy, expose the true bride, and disappear from the Blackwoods radar forever. Now knowing Rose was the true bride, the situation in the house felt even more menacing. Art and Liz agreed to leave that night. They had been so focused on Nancy, they had missed the quiet, unassuming viper in their midst. As Liz packed, Art watched the living room. Iris, Sam's widow, sat alone on the sofa, her head in her hands. Art was about to go to her when he heard his soft, soothing voice. "Iris, don't go anywhere. I'll sit and talk with you." "Yid." It was Rose, suddenly appearing beside Iris. From the crack in his door, Art watched and saw something inhuman. Fine white hairs were sprouting on Rose's skin. Her facial features subtly shifted, becoming more bestial. And from behind her, a long tail snaked out and wrapped around Iris's waist. Seeing this, Art threw open the door. "Iris!" He didn't know what to say. Rose turned to him. "What is it, Art?" He had to think fast. He remembered finding a small locket on Sam's bed. He pulled it out and gave it to Iris. It contained a photo of her and Sam. I found this on Sam's bed." "Thank you, Art," Iris said, clutching the locket and walking away. As soon as she was gone, Rose moved closer to Art, her voice a soft, menacing purr. "What do you want, Art?" "Stop this. Let there be no more victims." "It's not your concern. I am merely fulfilling the decree. It is my concern when my family is being offered as a sacrifice, and I will stop it." Sam, I was told from the beginning who would fall. The bride and guardian are in place. The rest is just a matter of time. Run as far as you like. It's already too late." She then walked to her room. The tale Art had seen was gone. That night, Iris was back on the sofa. Art seized the opportunity. He brought her a cup of warm milk, her favorite. "Art, how did you know I wanted this?" "Just a guess. I also want to talk about Sam. Let's talk in the dark. If you hear a third voice, it's not one of us." Art was unsettled, but he agreed. Iris began to speak, her voice low but firm. She explained that long before Eleanor's death, Caleb had been recruiting family members into the pact. Only Iris, Liz, and Chris had refused. The pact was like chains. If one condition wasn't met, a life was forfeit. Iris had tried to stop Sam from joining, but he had been forced. Then Silas Blackwood arrived, taking advantage of the situation, making everyone believe the Guardian would be from his family, when, in reality, his goal was to slowly eliminate the Mayhews, then move on to the mill workers and neighbors. Once the bride and guardian were consecrated, the pattern of sacrifice would spread to anyone connected to them. As they spoke, Iris suddenly said, "Someone is here," and Art nodded and performed a quick mental ritual to shield their conversation from whatever was listening. "We only have 2 minutes," he said. Iris quickly finished. Her husband, Sam, had left a message. Those not bound by the pact had to leave that very night. Once Silas took full control with Caleb as his right hand, it would be over. Just as she finished, the lights flickered on. The door to Caleb's room opened. Then, the lights went out again. But this time, in the darkness, Art could faintly see 3 figures surrounding Iris. The horned man was covering her mouth, a long-haired woman was twisting her arms, and a shrouded figure was holding her legs. Iris was completely immobilized. She managed to turn her head slightly and motioned for Art to run. Art fled to his room, pulling Liz under the bed with him. From the living room, they heard the banjo, the singing, the chittering. They heard the jingling footsteps of the bride, Rose, leading Iris away. The last thing they heard was Iris's muffled cry. In the early morning, the lights came back on. Art and Liz crept to Iris's room. The door was open. Inside, Iris lay on the floor, her body bound and covered in scratches, her mouth gaping open in a silent scream. She was gone. Art and Liz could only weep. Iris had paid for revealing the secret with her life. Suddenly, a hand clapped Art on the shoulder. He spun around. It was Silas Blackwood. He had appeared out of nowhere. He stared at Art, a cruel smile on his face. "So, are you ready to be the next offering after Iris? I thought you wanted to know more about this pact of ours." Iris's death was a stark warning. At her funeral, Art placed Sam's locket in her grave. 2 lives, gone in a matter of days. In the distance, Caleb and Rose watched, then left. Only Nancy remained. "What now, Nancy?" Art asked. "Now," she said quietly, "all we can do is survive." Then she too walked away. Back at the house, Caleb tried to explain himself, but Art and Liz weren't listening. They packed their bags. As they walked out the front door, Caleb stopped them. "You won't be safe, even if you start a new life." "My life and death are not your business, Caleb. You're the ones who made a deal with the devil. You bear the consequences. In 15 years, we'll see who survived and who's been destroyed." And with that, Art and Liz left the Mayhew homestead forever, driving until they were far from the reach of the old families and the Blackwood clan. 3 months later, Liz gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Ryan, just as they had planned. His birth was a ray of sunshine in their dark lives. The old mountain man, Jed, had once warned Art that the greatest danger would come in 15 years. For now, his message was simple: guard your child closely. One evening, Liz was holding baby Ryan on the porch of their new, small house. The night was calm. Suddenly, from a nearby tree, she heard the chittering of a crawler. Ryan began to cry inconsolably. Liz, terrified, rushed inside and hid in the closet, holding her breath. Art wasn't home. She prayed silently. She felt the top of the closet dip, as if something heavy had just sat on it. Then, the sound of the front door creaking open, followed by the distant, haunting banjo music. She tried to soothe Ryan. "Shh, baby, it's okay. Mommy's here." She heard footsteps, heavy and deliberate. She recognized the rhythm. It was the master of the crawlers, but this time, there were no jingling ornaments of a bride. She stayed hidden until the sounds faded. When she felt it was safe, she opened the closet door, but she was wrong. Standing right in front of her was the horned man, its eyes glowing red. Liz froze, a scream caught in her throat, but just as quickly, the creature vanished. A moment later, there was a knock at the front door. Perhaps the creatures had fled because someone was coming. Liz placed Ryan in his crib and went to the door. It was Nancy. She looked exhausted. "Liz, please, help me." "I'm sorry, Nancy. It's not safe here right now." Just then, Ryan started crying again from the bedroom. Liz rushed back. She stopped in her tracks. A beautiful woman in a simple white dress was holding Ryan, singing a gentle lullaby to him, an old folk tune. "Who are you?" Liz demanded. The woman just smiled at her, then placed Ryan back in his crib. She walked towards the wall and passed right through it, her lullaby fading away. Liz scooped up her baby. "It's okay, baby. Mommy will protect you. No one will ever take you." Nancy appeared in the doorway. Liz, no longer trusting her, grabbed a pair of scissors from the sewing kit and pointed them at her. "Don't come any closer." Nancy raised her hands in surrender. "I didn't come to harm you. I just came to tell you. Silas Blackwood has taken over the family home. He sits in the main chair like he's the king of the mountains." Then, she turned and left. Soon after, Art came home. Liz told him everything. The crawlers, the horned man, the mysterious woman singing to Ryan. Art immediately went to work. He burned the sage bundles, sprinkled the coffee and salt mixture, and planted ginger on the east side of the house. "If you hear the banjo again, and the lights go out," he told Liz, "we hide under the bed. If you hear the crawlers on the roof, ignore them, and whatever you do, do not open the closet. We just pray until sunrise." That night, as they watched Ryan sleep, Art said, "Liz, I don't think that woman in white was one of them. Her lullaby wasn't a threat. It felt like an old protector, a guardian of our bloodline. If that's true, then we're not alone in this fight." They knew they had entered a new chapter. They agreed on 3 rules. 1. No contact with the old house. 2. Keep their son's name off any official records. School him far from their hometown. 3. Keep to themselves. Their new life didn't erase the threat, but now, they weren't just surviving on enemy territory. They were building a fortress. The next evening, Art came home to find Liz awake and worried. "They know where we are, Art. I just saw Jed. He said someone will make a move in the next few months." She told him about Nancy's visit. That night, they took turns sleeping, always keeping watch over Ryan. The next morning, the local newspaper headline was stark. "Tragedy at the timber mill. 5 employees dead." Art showed it to Liz. One of the victims was a man named Deacon Miller, a beloved and respected elder in the community. The town was outraged. As Art was leaving for the mill to see what he could find out, he ran into Jed. "Art, we need to go to Carter's house. He's the only survivor." They went to Carter's small house. It was dark and quiet. Jed knocked, but there was no answer. He then performed a strange ritual, circling the house 7 times while chanting. As he finished the 7th circle, the door creaked open. Carter stood there, looking haggard and broken. "Who are you?" "We're just concerned citizens. We want to hear your story." "Are you connected to the mill owner?" "Who is the owner? Say his name." "I was forced. It wasn't my choice, but I know his evil, Silas Blackwood." That night, there was a ritual. 6 of us were called in. Me, Deacon Miller, and 4 others. We were told to swear an oath of loyalty. Those who refused were stripped naked and forced to beat their heads against the floor. Then, it came. Who came? The master of the crawlers. As soon as he said the name, Carter cried out in pain, clutching his head as if under an invisible attack. "Jed, what's happening to him?" Art cried. Jed explained that Carter had been marked with a magical trigger. If he revealed the secret, it would self-destruct. "Art, get me salt water, now!" Art rushed to the kitchen. As he fumbled for the salt, he saw a familiar figure in the corner. The horned man. It just stared at him, its eyes glowing. "What do you want?" Art demanded. The creature simply turned and walked through the wall. It was going to report back to Silas. Art returned with the salt water. Jed splashed it on Carter's head, and the man collapsed, unconscious but alive. "What's our next move, Jed?" "Silas isn't working alone. There's someone else, someone powerful, planning something big with him." End of. You mean the official Linga? The one they call the eel. The pieces were coming together. The tragedy at the mill was being covered up by someone with political power. Jed suspected Silas had intentionally left one survivor, Carter, as bait to track his and Art's involvement. That night, Art came home to find Liz waiting on the porch. Jed saw them and bid them farewell. Liz told him about Nancy's visit and the woman in white. Jed confirmed that the woman was a protector, an ancestral guardian named Grandma Willow. She was a fierce protector of her bloodline. He also reminded Art of his vision, the one about his future daughter. With Grandma Willow's presence, it was likely she would be the one to watch over her. That night, Art had a dream. He was told to choose between 2 coconut saplings, representing his future children. He chose the one that glowed with a golden light. Then he was shown flashes of the future, confirming that Grandma Willow would indeed protect one of his children. The next morning, a visitor arrived. It was Carter, but he looked terrible. His stomach was massively swollen, hard as a rock, like he was 9 months pregnant. "Last night, they attacked me," Carter gasped. "Silas and the politician, the horned man came and poured water from a clay jug onto my stomach. Then it started to swell. Please, help me. I don't want to be the next offering." Art knew they had to get to Jed's. Liz pleaded with him not to go, fearing it was a trap, but Art insisted. At Jed's cabin, they took Carter inside. As soon as Jed touched his stomach, Carter screamed. Beneath the skin, Art could see something moving, writhing. It looked like a short, thick snake. "That water was cursed," Jed said. "A medium to deliver that creature into him." Jed began a healing ritual. Carter screamed in agony. Then, something was expelled from his body into a bucket. It wasn't feces. It was 2 dead eels. "My God, Jed, they're eels." This was sent by the official. The horned man was just the courier. The water in that jug was from a swamp witch, sent to kill his target. Jed buried the eels in the yard. When Art checked on Carter, his stomach was flat again. "Art," Jed asked, his voice low and angry. "What is that official's name?" "Linga. He is a truly monstrous man." End of 60. After being healed, Carter followed all of Jed's instructions to strengthen himself against another attack. 3 days later, Art was still trying to figure out how to stop the unholy alliance of Silas Blackwood and Sheriff Linga. Silas controlled the supernatural, Linga controlled the law. Together, they could get away with anything. "We have to go to the sinking creek," Art told Liz. "We need to find a man named Reverend Ashad, and then we need to find Serapto. They might hold the key to stopping one of them." They journeyed to the sinking creek, a sanctuary for old families fleeing persecution long ago. They were greeted by Reverend Ashad, a man with a wise and powerful presence. "What can I do for you, son?" "Reverend, I need to know about a man in the county government named Linga." "Linga," the Reverend mused. "I know the name. He comes here every election season, promising the world. He's an eel, my boy. Slippery. Will do anything to win. I once heard a rumor that he had his own running mate killed. When he got into power, he aligned himself with Silas Blackwood. But men like that, their comeuppance will arrive soon." Next, they met with Serapto Blackwood. Art told him about the mill, the 5 dead men. Serapto simply patted Art on the shoulder 3 times. "Be calm. Soon, all will be revealed." On the journey home, Art heard a whisper in his mind, a premonition of death. "Hurry, help your brother. He is close to death." He knew he had to go to Jed's. When he arrived, the plants in Jed's garden were all withered and dead. He knocked. Jed opened the door. "Jed, I just had a premonition. Let's go. To Carter's house. Something is wrong." They rushed to Carter's, but the house was silent. They heard a faint, familiar voice from inside. "Gonna die. Gonna die." They broke down the door. Carter was on the floor, his stomach swollen again, even larger than before. In the corner of the kitchen, the Horn Man watched. As Jed lunged for it, Carter began to vomit blood, nails, and broken glass. "We have to get him to my house, now." They rushed Carter back to Jed's. Jed was furious. He knew this was the work of the Swamp Witch, hired by Linga. As he prepared a remedy, he looked at Carter. His stomach was now stretched taut like a balloon, ready to burst. Jed grabbed an egg and rubbed it on Carter's belly. Carter screamed, though he was only being touched by an egg. The stomach miraculously deflated. Jed dropped the egg into a bowl of hot water, and it instantly cracked open. But inside wasn't yolk. It was full of sharp objects and small creatures, centipedes and roaches, and it smelled of death. "Art, throw this outside." As Art went to dispose of the cursed egg, he froze. Standing at the gate to Jed's property was a man in a wide-brimmed hat. "How are you, Art? What have you done to Carter? You want to know about the tragedy at the mill? Come to the Mayhew house." It was Silas Blackwood. He dropped a piece of bone on the ground. It was the medium used for the curse. Jed came out. He picked up the bone and recited a prayer. As he did, strange symbols appeared on its surface. "This is a standard hex. If you go to that house, Art, you won't survive. The key is not to be provoked. We have to protect Carter and break the link between the official and his witch." A week later, Carter finally spoke. He revealed that Silas and Linga were searching for a hidden treasure in a nearby forest. To find it, they had to sacrifice many people, including one final offering, a virgin girl from the Mayhew family. Art's blood ran cold. He remembered his vision, his future daughter. That night, Art was restless. He decided to sleep in the living room, sensing trouble. Around 2 a.m., the lights went out. He heard a familiar chittering sound. He closed his eyes, trying to stay calm. Suddenly, a pair of rough, clawed hands grabbed his face and began to choke him. It was the Horned Man. Art couldn't breathe, but he refused to be afraid, reciting prayers in his mind. After a few minutes, the grip suddenly released. Another presence had appeared at the front door, forcing the Horned Man to retreat. Art, his strength gone, passed out. The next morning, Liz found him, his face and neck bruised and scratched. "Art, what happened?" He hugged her tightly. "Liz, protect Ryan. If I fail to stop this pact, take him and run. Never let him know about this shame." He told her about the attack. At Jed's house, Carter asked about Art. Jed was staring at a withered flower in a vase. Each flower represented a person. This one was Art's. "Tonight, they will come for him," Jed said. He told Carter to lock all the doors and windows. Carter went to the kitchen and suddenly screamed. Jed ran in to find a man in a wide-brimmed hat choking Carter. "Silas, how did you get in?" This one is an obstacle, Jed. If he lives, the mill story gets out. This is the 9th offering. The fetching doesn't need a master or a bride anymore. The master has merged with me. If you want to live, stay out of my way. He released Carter, who began to convulse, his stomach swelling again. Silas retreated through the back door. Jed rushed to help Carter, but it was too late. His stomach ruptured. With his last breath, Carter gasped, "Save my friend. He works for Linga." And then he was gone. Jed roared in frustration. The key witness was dead, but he had left one final clue. A friend. A subordinate of Sheriff Linga, who knew the truth. News of Carter's death reached Art and Liz. They went to Jed's, their hearts heavy. At Carter's makeshift grave, Jed swore revenge. They had to find this subordinate. "Where do we look, Jed?" Art asked. "The timber mill." It was a risky move, but it made sense. If the man was still undercover as an employee, it was the only place to find him. Back at the mill, the workers whispered in fear. The news of Carter's death had spread. Suddenly, a worker fell from the rafters, dead. A tall, imposing man walked over to the body, dipped his finger in the blood, and looked at the other workers. "If anyone speaks my name in vain, there will always be a price." Sen. Silas and Linga appeared, feigning shock. The imposing man said to Silas, "One of your workers is about to betray you. Silence him before he silences you." This man was clearly on another level. Even Silas bowed his head. Yes, Kang Mas. The name they used was a term of utmost respect. This man was the true power. The next day, Art saw a newspaper photo of the incident. Behind Silas stood a tall man in sunglasses. Jed recognized him. "I know that man. His name is mentioned in the old family manuscripts that Chris memorized. Silas is just the spear. This man is the one who throws it." Silas and Linga were just puppets. At the mill, a worker named Jaja, a friend of Carter's, was planning his escape. He snuck a peek into the ritual room and saw the imposing man arranging an offering. In front of him, another worker was transforming into one of the crawlers. Terrified, Jaja tried to flee, but a hand clamped over his mouth. It was Sheriff Linga. He dragged Jaja to a hidden room. That night, at Art's house, something landed on the roof. Art told Liz to hide. He went to the back door. A group of robed figures stood there. 3 of them stepped forward and removed their hoods. It was Silas Blackwood, Sheriff Linga, and the tall, imposing man. "I am Jedediah Blackwood," the man said. "The bastard son of the old patriarch, Silas's elder brother." The power radiating from him was immense. Art felt his knees buckle. The 3 men stepped aside, revealing 4 figures behind them, shrouded in burial cloths. The reanimated corpses of Eleanor, Sam, Iris, and Carter. Silas laughed, leaning in to whisper in Art's ear. "So, Art, how much longer are you going to stand in our way?" The next thing Art knew, he was waking up in a hospital. Liz was frantic. He kept muttering a strange phrase, "Durpixa, Jagratara, Janaloka." The doctors were baffled. Jed arrived and insisted they take Art home. His body was here, but his soul had been taken to a dark place, tied to a thorny tree and being whipped by the Horned Man and a woman in red, Jedediah's demonic familiar. While Jed worked to retrieve Art's soul, Liz heard the lullaby again. She found the beautiful woman from before, Grandma Willow, in a back room, holding a baby girl. "My beautiful grandchild," she sang. "I will not let your family take you as an offering. I will protect you." 40. Jed, using the cursed bone from Silas, managed to break the connection and pull Art's soul back. The effort nearly killed him. He explained the phrase Art had been repeating. Durbixa means demon, Jagratara means vigilant, Janaloka means the world of man. The demons are vigilant over the world of man. They are strengthening their hold. You have to move again. Meanwhile, at the mill, Jaja was still being held captive. A mysterious old man appeared, cut his bonds, and told him, "Run. Find Arthur Miller. He will help you." Jaja escaped, determined to avenge his friend Carter. In the main office, Jedediah, Silas, and Linga were discussing their list of future sacrifices when Jedediah smiled. "Our little mouse has escaped," he said, looking at Linga. "Are you sure your work is clean? Could Jaja escape? Could Art and Jed finally expose the evil of the Blackwood clan?" Okay folks, that was The Fetching of the Crawlers by Rhett Wilder. But that ending, it feels unfinished, doesn't it? I'm gonna have to get Rhett on the line and find out what happens next. Stay tuned to Midnight Radio for the conclusion to this terrifying story.